Hello everyone and welcome back to Basket Bricks, and as promised, I'm going to be bringing you a comparison between the 2003 LEGO Star Wars TIE Bomber and the 2023 LEGO Star Wars TIE Bomber. We are looking at 20 years worth of LEGO Star Wars development, so let's see if the wait has paid off. Alright, let's take a brief look at what's going on with each one individually. Let's start with the most recent model. Now, as far as a TIE Bomber toy goes, and as far as especially a LEGO TIE Bomber toy, I think visually I couldn't have really asked for anything much better than this. I mean, this thing looks a hell of a lot like the actual in-universe model. And once again, we gotta remember this is a LEGO toy, so it's not gonna look absolutely perfect, but geez, especially the shaping on some of these here, I mean, it's wonderful. The designers, I feel like, did a pretty darn good job on this model, and especially considering it really only has like one major specialized part, which are in these wings, which can be taken off, and it's just that piece right there. Besides that, no specialized pieces, just pure Lego. And you can open up the cockpit here. It's very small, very cramped, but they still managed to put in a little bit of detail there, which I appreciate. And of course, we have the stud shooters, which of course gotta be there. It is a toy, remember. And we also have the bomb dropping mechanism, which sadly it's a TIE Bomber toy, but I think the bomb dropping mechanism is the weakest part. It's just some flick fire missiles. To me that feels kind of lazy. It's also a little inauthentic to me because it's more of a bomb shooter, not a bomb dropper. But besides that, the bomb dropping part of the TIE Bomber, I am super pleased with how this model came out. Alright, now we couldn't be on the more opposite side of the spectrum with the 2003 model. Now, this gets some right, but a lot quite off. Now, let's start with the positive. For the time, I actually like the wings quite a bit. They're simple, but they get the job done. Now, besides that, we're getting a bit iffy. I'm gonna go in a lot of more of the details and when we put the two next to each other. But yeah, you'll notice the blue is the biggest thing that comes out now. For those of you who don't know, LEGO is making their TIE Fighters blue to make them better replicate the movie models that were actually used for the films. The actual film models were more on the bluish side than the gray side. LEGO did not have the correct color to replicate that in an authentic way, so they went for this weird hybrid design. But yeah, as far as playability goes, it's actually pretty darn good. We have this large cockpit, which while it doesn't have any detail, there's a lot of room in there. You could put like characters with capes and backpacks in there. Of course, it's a TIE Bomber. You go over here to the back, and all you do, you grab this here, you pull it back, and bombs drop out. The bombs are just cylinders, nothing nuts, and then you open up the top, you load them back in. It's that simple. It works really well, and it really feels like, you're dropping bombs. It's a remote action too. You're not directly dropping the bombs yourself. You're pulling those, and then it just drops it, which is awesome. We, of course, have one more additional play feature. While the other TIE Fighter had stud shooters, this has a Technic competition cannon, which you can't really... Oh my gosh. Sorry, these are old parts. They do that every once in a while, but you can't really beat a Technic competition cannon, can you? Load that in. There's just this little button up there. You pull it back, and it just shoots right out. So, as far as play goes, this model excels, but as far as display goes, it doesn't exactly meet the mark. Alright, when we put these models together, a couple of things really jump out at me. First of all, look how square this is. Look how square this model is. Like, especially when we turn it around, it starts to show how square that is compared to how elegant and round the new one is. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I mean, it's incredible how far we've come. The shaping on this new one is just awesome. But then if you look at this one, it looks like some sort of like medieval Star Wars crossover, which how square everything is. Which makes sense. It has used quite a few pieces which are traditionally used in medieval builds. But another really great point of comparison is this. Listen to this. I'm gonna do the same to this. Of course, this is not necessarily a fragile set. The reason why it sounds like that is because everything is connected together through these might have had frictionless Technic pins. So it goes all over the place. But hey, let's do a quick, like, accurate comparison of how these things are as toys. Now, once again, we went over real quickly, but of course, as a toy, this can, drop flick fire missiles. We have some shootables here, have a pretty cramped place to put a minifigure, but I'm gonna be honest, I think this is the better toy. It's the far more an accurate toy, but as far as play value go, this kind of knocks out of the park. We have a bigger place to put minifigures, a better bomb dropping mechanism, and the Technic competition cannon. Not to mention, one kind of additional bonus that I forgot to mention here, we'll kind of move this guy away, is that because that these have so many Technic pins, it kind of makes a modular system. So, I'll give you an example. We take that off, and look what we have now. A mini TIE Advanced that can drop bombs. Of course, this doesn't really do anything anymore, but I mean, we just turned it into an entirely different thing. That's kind of cool. And of course, the more different TIE fighters that you get, there were quite a few out at this era. Probably the most we had in any Lego Star Wars era were these original ones. There were quite a few different variations out back then. You could like put together some real abominations, which is fun, but at the end of the day, their looks are a factor. As much as I do think that play value is the most important part of a Lego set, there is a bar that needs to be met by looks. This does not meet that bar to any extent. This fails miserably in all accounts, and as far as visuals go, this exceeds in all accounts as far as visuals go, but is lacking on the play value. So some interesting things to look at here. Me personally, I do think that this is overall a great representation of how Lego has evolved. Well, you can argue that a lot of the playability in the sets were better back then. Visually, there's no comparison. I mean, just look how this looks, how this beauty looks compared to this dinky little thing. It's funny, but hey, I love both of them. I love having them on display next to each other. And hey, I hope you enjoyed looking at them with me. If you do enjoy the video, of course, consider leaving a like, subscribing, all that jazz, Discord, all that stuff. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.